Okay, let's start with a big one. What really makes us human? It's a massive question, right? But what if a huge piece of the answer wasn't just in our minds, but was actually written, hard-coded right into our DNA? Today, we're going on a treasure hunt deep inside our genetic code to find one tiny switch that might have changed everything for our species. I mean, just think about it for a second. We build these massive civilizations, we write symphonies, we debate philosophy, we even question our own existence. And at the core of all of that incredible complexity is one amazing tool: language. So where on earth did this ability even come from? Now, our closest relatives, the great apes, they have some pretty sophisticated ways of communicating, for sure. But it's mostly tied to the here and now. Danger, food here. Human language, that's a whole different ballgame. It's symbolic. It's basically infinite. We can talk about last Tuesday or 1,000 years from now, or ideas that don't even physically exist. So what happened? What changed in our family tree to make that possible?
To find out, we have to look past our brains, past our behavior, and go deeper. We have to look right into the code that actually builds us, our DNA.
For ages, scientists knew there had to be something in our genes that gave us this capacity for speech. But finding the exact spots responsible in a genome with billions of letters, it was like trying to find one specific grain of sand on an entire beach. But then, a breakthrough, a huge one. Researchers stumbled upon a critical clue, a single gene that just stood out from all the rest. And here it is. Meet FOXP2. Now, this isn't just any old gene. It's what's known as a transcription factor. You can think of it like a conductor of an orchestra. It doesn't play an instrument itself, but it tells all the other genes when to turn on and when to turn off to build the super complex brain wiring we need for speech. It's a master switch. So this is where the story gets really interesting. Across most mammals, FOXP2 is incredibly conservative. It barely changes over millions and millions of years. It's super stable. But when scientists looked at the human branch of the family tree, they saw something that just blew their minds. The rate of change in this gene didn't just speed up a little bit. It went into overdrive. It exploded. Scientists measured its substitution rate. That's just a fancy way of saying how fast evolution rewrites the gene's code. And in the human lineage, that speed shot up by more than 60 times. 60! That's wild. This wasn't the slow, steady crawl you usually think of with evolution. Nope, this was a flat-out Olympic-level sprint. And that kind of speed is a giant, flashing neon sign that this gene was under intense pressure to change, pushing our ancestors somewhere totally new. Okay, so to really get why this genetic sprint is such a huge deal, we need to zoom out a bit. We need to see where this all fits into our big, messy family history. So our story starts millions of years back, right? We see primates split from other mammals, then the apes go their own way, and finally our direct line, the hominins, we split off from the ancestors of chimpanzees, somewhere around 4 to 7 million years ago. And for a really long time after that big split, our ancestors and our chimp cousins were on pretty similar paths, evolutionarily speaking. But then, somewhere along our branch, that genetic sprint in FOXP2 kicked in. And, well, everything changed. And this is what's so incredible. We can actually pinpoint the exact changes that set us apart. This isn't some vague idea. We know the specific little edits in the code that rewrote our species' destiny. It all comes down to just two, tiny changes. Out of 715 amino acids that make up this whole protein, only 2 are different in humans compared to chimpanzees. 2. It's almost unbelievable that 2 little tweaks could make all the difference in the world. And listen, this isn't just a fun theory. This comes straight from the groundbreaking research back in 2002 that first figured all this out. The scientists showed these 2 changes weren't just random flukes. They became fixed in the human population. That means they were so good, so advantageous, that they spread like wildfire and became the new standard. So what did these 2 little changes actually do? Well, all the evidence points to them fine-tuning the brain pathways for something called orofacial motor control, basically a fancy term for the incredibly precise, coordinated muscle movements in our larynx, mouth, and tongue, the exact movements that let us produce the huge range of sounds needed for complex speech.
So let's bring it all together. How does this one gene, this one story, help us start to crack the code of what makes us so unique?
What it tells us is that our DNA, it's not just a blueprint for building a body. It's a living history book. It has chapters, and it records the exact moments that made us who we are. And the story of FOXP2, that's the chapter about the moment our ancestors really started to find their voice. And you can just see the dominoes fall, right? It all starts with that tiny genetic mutation that unlocks the physical ability for complex speech. And once you have that, suddenly you can cooperate, teach, and share knowledge in ways that were never possible before. And that becomes the launchpad for culture, for technology, for everything we now call human. It's honestly a pretty humbling idea. The giant chasm between us and every other animal on Earth might have been kicked off by something as small as a couple of typos in our genetic code. Typos that just happen to be evolutionary superpowers.
The story of FOXP2 really proves that the clues to our own identity are literally written inside of us. And it just leaves you with this amazing question, doesn't it? As we get better and better at reading the book of our own genome, what other secrets about what it means to be human are just sitting there, waiting to be discovered?